Assalamualaikum my dear students. Hope you are fine by the grace of Almighty Allah. Welcome to NIABS Home School. I am Nasima Akter, Assistant Teacher of Science, National Ideal English Version School, Morning Shift. Dear students, today I am going to take a science class for class 8 students. Dear students, our today's topic is chapter 14. The name of this chapter is Ecosystem. Today we will read this chapter. So dear students, let's see today's topic from here. Students, our today's topic is chapter 14 and this is lecture number 12 and our today's HW number is 10 number HW. So dear students, let's begin the class. Our chapter 14 and this is page number 153 and the name of this chapter is Environment and Ecosystem. Environment and Ecosystem, and from here lesson 1 starts Ecosystem. This is page number 54. What is written here? Let's see. Ecosystem. There are different types of living organisms in different environments of the world. In different regions of each habitat, there exists a vast dissimilarity in their climate condition, weather and other abiotic and biotic factors. For this dissimilarity, the earth is inhabited by various different types of organisms. The organisms you see in the forests are different from those inhabited in the pond. There is a close relationship between biotic and abiotic components of these environments. Further, the animals, plants of an environment are dependent on one another for their survival. In this way, the living components of a particular environment is functioning and interacting with the abiotic components to form a relatively stable system called ecosystem. If you observe environment, you will see there is a continuous action-reaction among different components of the ecosystem. The garden near your house or school is the example of a small ecosystem. Now, lesson 2. Components of ecosystem. As you know, ecosystem consists of abiotic, that means non-living, and biotic, living components. Abiotic components. All non-living components of an ecosystem is abiotic components. These are classified into two categories: inorganic or organic. Inorganic or physical components and organic substances. Inorganic components consist of Inorganic components consist of minerals, soil, light, water, air, temperature, humidity, etc. Dead and decomposed organic materials of living organisms are known as organic substances. These organic and inorganic components are very essential for the survival of the living organism. Biotic components. Biotic components include plants, animals and microorganisms. As you have learned in lesson 1, as you have learned in lesson 1, there is an interrelationship between biotic and abiotic components. To keep ecosystem functional, these living organisms play certain role, and on the basis of their contribution, biotic components are of three types. For example, producer, consumer and decomposer. Producer. The green plants can produce food, hence called producers of the ecosystem. They manufacture carbohydrate food in presence of sunlight by the process of photosynthesis. All the animals of an ecosystem are directly or indirectly depends on this food. Consumers. The animals which live on eating organic matters obtained from plants or on other animals are known as consumers. These consumers are again divided into three groups: primary consumers, secondary consumers, and tertiary consumers. Primary consumers. All animals which consume plants or plant parts are known as primary consumers. They are also called herbivores. From minute insects to many large animals are included in the group of herbivores. For example, cow, goats, etc. Now, secondary consumers, those which live on eating primary consumers, for example, frog, bird, man, etc. They are also called carnivorous. Tertiary consumers. Animals which feed on secondary consumers are called tertiary consumers. For example, frog, tortoise, stork, man, etc. Some of these animals take food from more than one food level, trophic level. They are called omnivorous. When we take pulse, rice, potato, etc., we are primary consumers or herbivorous. But when we eat fish and meat, we are secondary or tertiary consumers. Now, decomposers. These are wide range of microorganisms including bacteria and fungi. After the death of plants and animals, these microorganisms act on their bodies and decompose. Finally, the decomposed body forms different organic and inorganic components. Some of the nutrients are used by them and the rest are mixed up with the soil and air. The green plant again consumes those as a natural process. This action and reaction between the biotic and abiotic components of the nature has created the ecosystem as a potential self-supporting ecological unit. Now come to here, this is lesson 3 to 5, types of ecosystem. In natural environment, there are two types of ecosystem. They are ecosystem of land and ecosystem of water. In this lesson, you will learn about ecosystem of land and ecosystem of water. Land ecosystem. Land ecosystem may be of different types. For example, ecosystem of forest, ecosystem of desert, etc. The forest region of Bangladesh may be mentioned as the example of forest ecosystem. The forest of Bangladesh is divided into two main regions, the forest of Sylhet and Chittagong hill tracts and the Sundarbans forest of coastal region of Khulna. A brief description of the ecosystem of Sundarbans are given below. The Sundarbans is a single large forest of Bangladesh. The vegetation of Sundarbans is different from the vegetation of other forests. The Sundarban is situated in the southern region of Khulna district, skirting the coastal belt of the Bay of Bengal. In the ecosystem of the Sundarbans, the soil is of high salt density. As salinity increases coastward in the tidal and subtidal areas, there is a transition of dense mangrove vegetation. The soil of the Sundarbans is very muddy, so it is not suitable for air passing. So the branch roots of the plants of this region grow erect and spread along the upper layer of the soil instead of inward. Root tip of these plants bear numerous spores through which atmospheric oxygen enters into the plant's body for respiration. The Sundari, Goran, Gewa, Keura, Golpata, etc. are the major plants of the forest. They are the producers of the ecosystem. Insects, birds, deer, etc. are primary consumers. Jackals, tortoises, cranes, etc. are secondary consumers. Tiger, hogs, etc. are among the tertiary consumers. Among them, hogs are omnivorous. The Royal Bengal tiger, cheetah, monkey, spotted deer, wild hog, crocodile, different types of snakes, birds and insects are the major animals of the Sundarban. Now come to here, aquatic ecosystem. Aquatic ecosystem is divided into three main types: ecosystem of pond, ecosystem of rivers and marine ecosystem. For your understanding, ecosystem of a pond is described here. A classic example of an aquatic ecosystem is the ecosystem of a small pond. In fact, a pond is an ecologically independent and self-regulating unit. In a pond, there exist abiotic and biotic components. The abiotic components are water, dissolved oxygen, carbon dioxide and some organic matters. Organisms can use these elements directly. The elements that constitute the biotic components of a pond ecosystem are producers. Primary consumers, secondary consumers, tertiary consumers and decomposers of different types. In a pond ecosystem, producers are minute floating or suspended small plants. These are known as phytoplankton. Water lily, Eichhornia, etc. are among floating microphytes. Like minute floating plants, there are also some microscopic animals too. These are known as zooplankton. Aquatic insects, small fish, mussels, snails, etc. feed on producers and is known as primary consumers. Medium-sized fishes, those live on eating the primary consumers, are called secondary consumers. Again, big fish, stork, etc. who eat secondary consumers are tertiary consumers. Bacteria, fungi decompose dead organisms. The decomposed substances again used by the producers of the pond ecosystem. Students, now we will review this lesson. You can see the components of ecosystem. Components of ecosystem are divided into two types, abiotic and biotic. Abiotic means non-living and biotic is living components. And biotic components are divided into three types: producers, consumers and decomposers. Again, consumers are three types: primary consumers, secondary consumers and tertiary consumers. Students, now types of ecosystem. Types of ecosystem is divided into two types: land ecosystem and aquatic ecosystem. Again, aquatic ecosystem is divided into three types: ecosystem of pond, ecosystem of river and marine ecosystem. So dear students, I have finished my today's topic. Now HW. Now I will give you HW. Our today's HW number is 10 number HW and your HW will be knowledge based question and answer 5. That means you have to make 5 knowledge based question and answer based on this lesson, that means lesson 1 to lesson 5 up to here. So dear students, I hope you have understood today's topic. Keep practice it at home and do your assigned SW in your SW copy, and this SW is your holiday SW. So dear students, stay home and we'll see you again in our